Day 1 of Season 2.5 is finished. It was...
I'm just trying to help you out, John, so you can go fuck.
You're down, Fail up, get down on the floor. What?
Yeah, get down on the floor.
Get down.
Interesting. It was definitely interesting for anyone who missed it. We started the stream, the watch party stream, on the dot when Fishtank Live show started at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard, and it has been pretty funny. It has not been a laugh riot, nonstop crazy stuff. There was a lot of world building. There was a lot of introducing the different characters, both the player characters, which here are the fish, and also the NPC characters around the town of Shitty. Also the vampires as well, and different people in that faction. Someone's going off into the woods alone. Not a great idea. So there's a lot of characters in this season, probably the most characters ever. And there's, the NPCs that run the different shops, like the blacksmith and his wife. There's the merchant. There's the sheriff and his deputy, who the deputy is Brian, the sheriff is Ben. Very exciting to see Ben in actually cast in a role that he's going to be kind of RPing more and actually acting more in, trying to be funny, because he did such a great job in season 2. Great to see. Really cool and fun to see so many different fish and so many different people from just all across, the freeloaders, the crew, everything, all congregating in this one place, and seeing them all finally get to meet and like interact with each other, people from different seasons and all this different stuff. It's interesting to see when you have especially something like two big heavyweights of content generation like John and Jimmy, go head to head and kind of be in the same space. There's some people who are missing, of course, as Burn in the chat just mentioned. We have not seen TJ. We have not seen Josie. There's obviously some people. Sylvia's apparently in New Zealand and she just had a baby. She's probably not going to show up ever. So there's people who we're not going to get every single fish in freeloader ever, but there's a lot of them. They're playing a lot of the hits. There's some cool world building. The year is 2080. They're in the town of Shitty, which is controlled by the Duke, who is Sam Hyde's character in this season, and he's very clearly a vampire, and he clearly has a lot of thralls and different vampire under his thumb, and they're keeping control of the city, and its townsfolk as well. And so there's a lot of the crew is saying, and Jet is saying, there's a lot of lore. There's important characters that are going to be dropping a lot of lore, like Xavier Ravenblood, I think his name was, who showed up, who looks like a samurai for some reason. He may also be a vampire, but he's a big player. There's different factions that you can actually interact with on the site. We're currently in the vampire faction, although I'm slowly starting to I'm already starting to really side with the fish here most of all. Like, if there's anyone I'm getting attached to, it's the fish, because that's who we're actually spending the vast majority of time with, is the fish. Precise, thank you so much for becoming a channel member, for re-upping the channel membership, because I knew you were a member before. Thank you so much. If you become a channel member, you get access to exclusive emojis. You get access to exclusive Fish Tank interviews, like the second, hour or 2 hour long Wes interview we did during season 2, and the John interview we did in season 2. So you get access to that, as well as a bunch of clips that are too hot for TV, too hot for being listed as public on YouTube. That would get my channel reported from season 2. So there's all those clips as well that you get access to. So thanks so much for becoming a channel member. Good to see you. Good to see. I mean, I'm seeing all the regulars. I'm seeing all the seasoned vets from season 2 here in the chat. It's great to see all you guys. I'm so glad you guys have dropped in, and as you guys are here to hang out. Like I was saying, season 2.5 has been interesting. There's some good moments that I clipped. Hopefully I'll upload. You know, they were riding the dirt bike around, dropping the bike a bunch, and they had a few actual fights and engagements with the vampires, shooting up the vampires and stuff like that. Precise, thank you so much for gifting the one Sly Elliott channel membership. Appreciate it. Looks like Sofa Ninja got that, caught that. Couldn't have gone to a better guy, if you ask me. Seems like a big tech test for season 3. I'm excited. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this season is super ambitious. It's super ambitious. Open world, sandbox style, mimicking the mechanics of an actual first-person RPG. Very heavily inspired by Fallout and Oblivion and Elder Scrolls, even a little Resident Evil and even Dark Souls-ish. You know, all that kind of stuff. It's a big love letter to all that kind of stuff. LARPing in real life, totally live, wireless setups. They got a steady cam rig. You know, the production value's super. The ante has been upped. We got stationary cams like we currently see. We have body cam rigs that the contestants wear during the day, which are actually with iPhones that they're recording everything for the body cams, not GoPros, nothing like that. So yeah, the production value is crazy through the roof with this one. The production crew seems like it's grown. There's a lot more people than ever before. It kind of on all sides of it, both the participants of the show and the cast, as well as the crew who's also putting it together. And the genuine LARPing is hilarious, which is so funny because it's gonna be a lot of trolling and like arguing and yelling at each other, like I hit you and you should be dead, you're dead, I shot you, lay on the ground, like arguing back and forth. There's already a huge argument that John got into it with the vampire LARPers. It's super funny. That stuff I think is gonna be, it's never going to go away throughout the whole show. And it's just going to be really hilarious every time when people argue about the hits and the RP and all that shit. It's going to be so funny. And that's, I think, part of the point and of this format, the kind of Jet setup. But yeah, it's definitely nerdier. That's one thing I will definitely say is that this season is, as far as accessibility, not the most accessible season per se to people less familiar with Fishtank and the show and stuff like that, because there's just so much minutia to it. It's a little more complicated. It's a lot more nerdy. There's a lot more like buy-in kind of to enjoy it. And it definitely helps if you actually know the cast of characters and you're familiar with these people and you're kind of excited to see them in a different setting, literally being fish out of water for once. You know, they're outside of the tank. Now the tank is the world, the game world that they're in, which is really interesting. A lot of shooting and swords and melee combat, a lot of screaming and yelling. And the vampires, who are these extras, think like the Walking Dead zombie extras. They are really good. They're very, very good at what they're doing. They've allegedly been training for weeks and rehearsing for weeks to kind of get ready to give the most convincing performance. So there's a lot of showmanship. You know, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. There's a whole metagame. You know, each individual fish has different, they have a player level, they have classes. The classes are going to come into play for what they're going to be able to do. There's, you know, like Jimmy's a medic, ironically. And some people, you know, can use guns, but other people can't use guns. They can only use swords. Some people, you know, so there's just a lot of interesting stuff with that. There's seemingly different factions and there's choices that the characters are going to be able to make, the fish are going to be able to make within the game, as far as like who they're siding with and what do they choose to do. There's different quests and side quests that the different NPC characters in the town are going to be able to give the players. Very interesting. As far as who wins and how people win, I don't really know. This doesn't seem like it's as much of a game show this season as much as this is really just some interesting wild experiment with this metagame component. Like, I'm sure there will be a winner, but I don't know what that's going to look like or how that will be determined. I don't even know if there's going to be really challenges per se. Like, it's just an odd, like, maybe they're going to end up being like, whoever's the highest level by the end of the show, that's who wins, or who completed the most quests, or who kills the final boss. I think that the win condition for this season is going to be different. So I don't know what that's going to look like, but it's interesting to think about, and it's a fun thing that they're doing. So we already have alliances forming. We already have factions forming. We already have new clans forming. The website itself, if you want to watch on fishtank.live, to watch on their proprietary main website, it's got a lot of new features that make the watch experience a lot more interesting and heightening. A lot of new quality of life stuff, raids, quests on the website that you can do, like all kinds of new stuff. You can become part of the factions. Like I said, we're currently in the vampire faction. You can endorse the contestants just like last season. It's everything from last season plus more features. And also, I think the performance tech-wise is somehow, not somehow, I think they've invested a ton of money into this. Especially between season 2 to now. Like, I think they've invested a ton of money into the production to make it as good as it can. The camera quality is crazy off the charts. The production value is crazy off the charts. It's the most ambitious season they've done so far because it's an open world. Everything has to be wireless. The cameras have to be shooting a live feed back to the server. So much stuff, way more complicated to the point where I barely even know how they're pulling it off. So that's all very interesting. It's a big arena, a big setup that is ripe for funny, interesting, weird, wacky, random stuff to go on. And, it's a good sandbox for that. And frankly, earlier in the day, during the daytime, when all of the different contestants were kind of spread out, and, you had multiple different fish that were doing different quests at the same time, right? So you couldn't even watch everything that was happening at once, right? I'm watching Taylor over here having a run-in with a fur trader in the woods on her quest, and she gets a shotgun pulled on her, and then I miss, Greg doing his quest over here, and people meeting the new NPCs and all the funny conversations that are happening over there. So I think it also lends itself that in that sense to rewarding people participating as a viewer, getting to click around on the website, all that kind of stuff. The director feature of the website is also really good. It's really solid. It's working pretty flawlessly so far as how they're live switching and everything. It's very cinematic. They've actually done music as well. There's a whole musical score as well to the director perspective, and it just makes, in my opinion, it's the best viewing experience with the music and everything. Like, they're so on point with everything so far. When John started fighting with Taylor and stuff earlier, like, they played the fight music, like in Oblivion, the NPC fight music, like that kind of stuff is so funny. It makes everything so much better, in my opinion. Like, the way that the directors are cutting and what they're cutting to, the different close-ups, the fact that they're on a handheld steady cam on the ground. You don't have to rely on cameras like this perspective. You actually get to be right in the action. You can be on the body cams, and you can follow your favorite contestants from sun up to sundown. That's also awesome. Let me catch up on the chat a little bit. I agree the website has had a solid upgrade. And this is, obviously, I think they're going to get better every season as far as tech issues and everything like that, and the seamlessness. So yeah, season 2.5, best performance so far. Season 2 was a better tech performance on day 1 than season 1 was. So it's just getting better and better, and you can see that. You can see that obvious progression. So it's great for them, good for them. I love Sam's character too. He's been very funny. He did a great job today. Everyone did a really good job today. Like, it's not easy because now everyone's in character, right? So there's another layer to it that makes it potentially more challenging to be interesting or funny or whatever. Or it could actually be easier because now you're in a character. You can kind of play on that more. You can pull on that more. So that's going to be interesting to see. And interesting to see how far people take that, and see how far people take the LARPing and the RPing and stuff like that. How far is it going to go? Or is it going to fall apart and people are going to drop the axe later as they start to get more tired and weary and everything like that? Who knows? It's going to be interesting. Yeah, the connection is great. It does feel so long ago. I also remember NYE in the tank pretty vividly. That was a bizarre, insane, probably once in a lifetime time. So weird. Obi-Chobi, yeah, the Elden Ring stream that I did a few days ago was really fun. Thank you guys for all stopping by who watched that. I appreciate it. Obi, you were there, hanging strong. You guys helped with a backseat Twitch Plays game, helped me through a lot of bosses on Elden Ring. I appreciate that as well. Maybe we'll get to some more Elden Ring in the down times here. I don't know. We'll see. The map is great. I agree. And they've put a lot of time into the map. I don't know if we can really see it a ton here, but we have a bunch of different Daniel, thank you so much for subscribing, appreciate you. We have the campgrounds. It's hard to see because these are at night. This is called the Downs. Yeah, this is called the Downs. So there's these different named regions, each with their own region camera, which is cool. So you can choose to watch from the perspective of a particular area of the map. And the map's pretty big, it's a pretty large surface area, especially to have all the wireless shit be interconnected and working properly. Crazy. Very impressive on that end. But yeah, the map's great. They put a lot of time and kind of, I think, thought into it to make the areas interesting and maybe memorable and useful. They're unironically sponsored by iFunny for some reason. Also, there's an Fishtank banner on ifunny.co. If you go there, bizarre, really funny. That's going to be a whole running gag through the whole show. Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be a winner. And yes, season 2, the edited show is not out yet. They've released a few teasers I've seen, but it's not out yet. MK Ultra LARP preconditioning for... Yeah, the tech must be nutty. It's insane. I mean, the fact that it's gone so well day one is absolutely shocking to me. That just tells me they've done a ton of rehearsing, a ton of stress testing. They really clearly put a lot of work into the pre-production here, which I'm not sure if they had as much time to do in season 2, before season 2. It's the beginning of season 2 had tech issues. You know what I mean? Some of it had tech issues through the rest of the show. But here, off to like a rip-roaring start. A lot of momentum here. Good to see. Great for them. Hope it stays that way. And also hope weather permitting, right? Because if there was a crazy thunderstorm, that would be pretty undoubtedly a problem. In some way, it would cause some problem. Sly the Fish Tank Grimoire. I'm fish-pilled. Hell yeah. There were fights. There was... craziness. There were some arguments already. John came in late, mogged everybody, just started mogging on everybody, getting super confrontational, which is funny, stirring the pot quite a bit. But all in all, the vibes were pretty good. Production crew seems in good spirits as well. They don't actually seem like they're exhausted, drained, whatever. Like I remember in season 2 early on, they already seemed tired and exhausted super early on, but right now they seem like the morale's pretty high and they're not dealing with a ton of bullshit on the back end, so they're seemingly able to they seem relaxed. They seem a lot more relaxed. They don't seem on edge. That's all good signs because that's going to help the momentum carrying through the season, and it's going to help the whole end product, right? I do truly hope this season is a bit more planned out. They didn't have time to plan for it. Season 2 is great, but there was entire days that were just a mess. I agree. I agree. I think that hopefully they've learned from what a lot of the feedback was during season 2. Yeah, the production crew, I think they are sleeping indoors. They have like a cabin building. There is a lot more planning already that I'm seeing right out of the gate. Like there's a lot of lore. There's like scripted events. There's these planned characters that seem to have like semi fleshed out like scripts or backgrounds. Like a lot of it is still improv and RPing. But I think that everybody came into it kind of with an idea of like, this is what my character is going to be like, this is what they sound like, this is their backstory, just like you would for a D&D campaign, or if you were going and making a new character on Fallout, or if you were joining a roleplay server or something on GTA or on Minecraft or Gary's Mod or whatever the fuck, or Arma, whatever the fuck, it does seem like they are taking that approach to it, a very D&D rule set kind of approach to the game to make it a true, genuine RPG. I think that's really, if you're viewing the season through that lens, where it's like, this is this is a live action role playing game. This is a live action role playing game, and these people are like, they're trying to do characters, they're trying to like create moments, they're trying to, they're gonna fight, and they're gonna all that kind of stuff. Like, it makes it make sense. Everything you see through that on the show, if you're looking at through that framework, kind of makes sense. If you aren't looking at it from that framework, it's going to seem nerdy, it's going to seem dumb. And I think that also I'm excited because, good vibes in the chat. Glad to see you too, Leaf Blower TV. So cool to see so many familiar faces back in the chat. There's health points, players can die, so there's stakes, right? So there's a palpable risk factor to waking up in the middle of the night, walking off on your own into the woods, and just like doing random shit. Like, there is a risk factor to that because you could get picked off fairly easily, right? We have no idea for the vampire faction, which is a lot of thralls and extras. Like I said, think The Walking Dead zombie extras in the film shoot. We have no idea where they are. We have no idea where they're located. We don't know if they're also camping out somewhere, or if they're with production in the cabin. We don't really know. So there's a really big unaccounted group that is not the crew, who we don't know where they're going to be. So there is a legitimate palpable danger to just going off on your own, because to me it seems like the vampires are a little unruly. The production crew does not have total control over them. They're just extras, and they have their rule set, and they can kind of just do, if they roam or something, that could be it for you. So there's a palpable danger to that. So very interesting. I think the setup for this is very interesting. The metagame component, very interesting. I'm more interested in this right now than I was halfway through season 2, just being in the house, because being in the house, as someone mentioned in chat, you can kind of fucking just do nothing. You can kind of fuck off. You don't have to be a content machine. You don't have to be interesting consistently. You don't have to be on. You don't have to be in character. These were all questions that we kind of had in season 2, where it's like, well, what would it be like if they were just trying to be in character the whole time, or trying to be interesting the whole time? And now we're going to see what that's like, and see what's it going to be like when they're supposed to be RPing, they're supposed to be in character, they're supposed to be participating in this constant, never-ending meta game that could be happening at all times. Not just when Gold Striker shows up and says, hey, there's a challenge. It's going on all the time. Taily showed up on day 1. In the first few hours she was on the map, she went to go do a quest. She got into a little argument with Chip, who is the fur trader in one of the areas, and the conversation did not go well. She did not react fast enough, and Chip shot her in the back, and she lost a life instantly. That's, so there's, the metagame is never ending. You can't really stop playing. If you're on the map, you could be attacked at any time. You'll have to defend yourself, or someone could come up to you, give you a quest. There's always, it seems super, there's a lot more moving parts to it that's making it really interesting. So these are the high hopes we have for this season. Like I said, there's a lot. It's a big tool set for, I think, the production crew to do some really cool things. I saw in one of the behind the scenes pictures, they have a huge whiteboard with all kinds of stuff on it. I think the planning is a lot higher for this season, and that's pretty obvious from day 1 so far. And so I'm very excited. Genuinely, my interest this season is peaked for sure. Sly and the Gooners back again. Can I give a quick rundown of the NPCs? Yeah, the blacksmith and his wife, they're really good. Their acting's really good. Their character's really good. They do these great accents, super juicy RPG like type shit. They are leaning into it great. There's Xavier Ravenblood, who's like a big faction leader, it seems, vampire, and he gives quests, and currently they're working on an alliance with him and aligning with him for now, but he seems pretty powerful. Don't know what the fuck that is. What's going on? There was the Resident Evil merchant. There was the Duke, who's very funny this season, which is the Gold Striker character of the season. The Duke's super funny. Ben is the sheriff. Brian is the deputy. There's Greg Helsing, who is a fish, but he's for some reason not camping out with them, because that was probably part of his stipulation for coming, is that he didn't want to sleep outside. That's my best guess as to that. And there's Chip the fur trader. Trying to think who else. There's a few random nameless sharks, masked sharks, but they didn't do a ton. They seemed like they were guards in the town. Other than that, they didn't do a lot. They kind of accompanied a few of the fish here and there for some of their quests, but I don't know. But those blacksmiths they really steal the show whenever they're on. I like them a lot. And Ben is great. Brian is great with Ben. Those two together, really funny. Brian's doing a good job as well with the acting and everything like that for the deputy. Great stuff. Everyone's doing a really good job. Letty's pretty funny. John's mogging people and being super confrontational. Jimmy is being Jimmy. Like, nothing needs to be said there. Just absolutely just jimming it up. Ty's pretty funny. He leveled up today from being the most interesting is pretty much how they put it. The store, the Shitty store, is the town store in Shitty. So this is the town of Shitty is what it's called. And this is the Shitty Goods merchant store, which they actually will be purchasing water, snacks, guns, ammunition, firewood, all that kind of stuff with the silver they get, which is the currency of the game, silver, and they trade it here at the merchant store run by the real shopkeeper and get the items. Letty bought a potion today. Jimmy had to use the potion because he went down in combat. They went out in the woods at night, got attacked by a bunch of vampire thralls. Jim went down and he had to get revived and use a health potion to regain his health points. This sounds all kind of like a joke. It's not. It's all real. It sounds really funny coming out of my mouth. John is on standby to put out forest fires. Agree. Yeah, a lot of good NPC delivery from them. Everyone's doing a great, like I said, everyone's doing a great job. Wanted more shark activity. I'm sure the sharks are going to play a more major role later because the sharks are a whole faction that you can choose to side with. You can choose out of 3 factions. Right now we're part of the vampires, subject to change. Because frankly, I'm really rooting for the fish. And that's who we're getting the most attached to, because by a large margin, we're spending the most time with the fish here. Especially because the fish they're rigged up with a body cam. You really personally go through everything with them. So siding with the other factions, especially with the vampires, which we don't know anything about, we barely have seen any of them talk, weird to side with them almost. I don't know. But we don't know all the mechanics yet and what actually it entails to be sided with a faction and play the different classes, because there's also different subclasses you can spec into within each faction if you join. Complicated. There's a lot of rules. There's a lot of stuff. And so only time will tell. We'll learn it as we go. That's part of the fun. The show for the night, I do believe, is everyone's asleep. They're probably going to be sleeping until daybreak, if I had to guess. Not much is probably going to happen. Even the website said the fish tank crew is AFK, so no one's manning the director cam and stuff like that. That's kind of the rub for the moment. So how do you guys enjoy the season so far? Do you have any questions before we maybe wind down the stream here? If you guys have any other questions or whatever. Thank you all for hanging out and chatting. It's really real of you. So glad to see so many of you here from last season and everything like that. OGs. This season already has a better premise. Yeah, I mean, the premise is so much more... I think it has the potential for all the stuff that we were excited about that was going on in season 2. It seems like they're going to try to do here, like a lot more scripted stuff, scripted encounters, characters, like real characters with like real backstory, with actual motives of like what they're trying to accomplish in the game world, all that kind of stuff. It does seem thicker, meatier, more to digest and latch onto and pick apart and enjoy, and cohesive is a great word. Thalassophobia, exactly. And so W stream, thanks so much, Frog Rock. W chat. Stay outside, no weed. Vampires do a good job too, Gwydkins. Like, speaking of, you said you're not looking away when the vampires come out. The vampires do a really good job. They do like scary sounds, like they're good ass vampire extras, like on par with, like, you know, the theater kids, you know, that when you go to a haunted house and you can kind of tell who the theater kids are at the haunted house because it's all kids running the haunted house, but like disproportionately some of them are like way more into it and way more convincing and scary and willing to like just go over the top. It's kind of like that. It's like a bunch of over the top acting theater kids as the vampires, and they're doing like a really over the top good job at being scary, you know, vampire thralls running at you in the night. Very funny. And so that Sly watch, that mic level, yeah, it's tough. I'm trying to balance everything. I may have peaked here and there. And you said they may be a different crew than the production, so I'm expecting exactly. They are. I don't think they are part of the actual production crew. And so they're like a separate kind of entity that production is directing the extras, but they, you know, we don't know a lot about them. We didn't meet them. They're not getting out of character. Like, they're staying in character the whole time, it seems. So we really can't be sure. There's this huge variable now of the vampires. Really can't be sure what they're going to do, when they're going to come out, you know, all that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. It's interesting. A lot of potential. So we'll see. Mic level's good, thank God. Greg, I think, is sleeping inside. If I could bring back another fish, who would it be? Probably Cole, because I think Cole would do really well in this setting. Like, I think Cole would fit it all well. He'd go into character well. He would, because he was already doing that in season 2. Like, I think that he'd be down for that kind of stuff, and I know he likes those kinds of video games and stuff. So I think it'd be Cole. Just thinking of what would be the most interesting. Hopefully Vance is also showing up. But yeah. Breaking down blood games. Hell yeah. Cole, I think, was a bit underrated and gone too soon, right? Gone too soon. Unfortunately, all the random, wacky, weird shit kind of got away from them. He did. I think he disappeared, which I don't blame him at all. Good for him. You know, like, that's probably for the, you know, for his sake, for the best. Like, sure, he's doing fine. Wishing him all the best, but I just think it'd be fun. Like the last said, Cole and Brian both LARPing IRL, probably very funny. It would probably be super funny. Oh, I mean, Airsoft Fatty's got to show up. Of course he's got to show up, and I bet he's gonna be like a boss. Like, I bet he's gonna be a boss or something. right? Like he has to be. Airsoft Fatty's whole thing is like LARPing with the lightsabers and hitting his friends and stuff like that for all of his videos. That was what all of his videos were. This is exactly Airsoft Fatty. They're shooting airsoft guns. I mean, this is obviously a layup for an Airsoft Fatty appearance. It's a given. There's no possible way they're not going to cash in on that. Obvious layup, and I'm excited to see it. Hopefully he's a boss or something, some major big character. That's going to be great. And he's obviously going to have to ask them to go to not go full force, right? I mean, that's obviously. Guys, I mean, that's really all I have for the breakdown of Day 1, Season 2.5, Fishtank Live, ALLSTARS Vampire Bloodgames. Not a title that rolls off the tongue, but we'll figure it out. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for hanging out and chatting and everything like that. The fish are turned in for the night. Maybe you should too. It's a Tuesday night. Some of you have work in the morning. I don't know. I have an appointment early in the morning. Not early in the morning, mid-morning. And good breakdown. Thanks. Hey, thanks. They were discussing his costume. Okay, yeah, so cool. He's gonna be here. I mean, we need Airsoft Fatty here. We need him. And not a, I like Chris. Like I like Chris. And I want him to be here, and I want him to have fun, and I want him to hang out. I like Chris's energy. I like what he brings to the tank. I want him around. You know what I mean? Like, let's get him in here. I'm at work right now. Crazy. Let's build another cool season, y'all. Hell yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. Like, you guys are so, great vibes in the chat. You guys are awesome. It's been nothing but positivity and good vibes. Great conversations, too. Funny stuff. Like, you guys are doing your thing. The Slide Mind, the chat, doing their thing. And I love to see it. You love to see it. So I really appreciate it. I appreciate that. Let's keep it going. Let's keep the momentum going throughout the season, throughout this little mini season, this 2-week little experiment that we're doing here. Chris yaps like crazy, though. Yeah, but I don't take as much psychic damage from Chris yapping. And it's not like, it's just not like as negative. That makes sense? I don't know. I'm in Europe starting my day. Thanks for the breakdown while I had my morning Joe. Hell yeah, Henry K. Fuck yeah, dude. Have a good day out in Europe. Thank you. Good night. Hell yeah, guys. Yeah, I mean, look, if you're going to get some rest, now would probably be a good time to do it. Like I said, I don't think they're going to be doing anything in the night anymore. So here we really have to ration our how we're sleeping, like, or we're gonna miss a lot of shit, right? So, and I do too, so that I can be fresh for when shit's going down. I'm also working still on my other monitors. Like, my phone was blowing up with work shit today while I was streaming. So, like, we got to try to stay fresh. It's a marathon, not a sprint for Fish Tank. You know what I'm saying? So we got to try to get some rest, make sure we're taking care of ourselves, eating good meals, all that kind of stuff, not getting fired from our respective jobs, all that kind of shit. So, I appreciate you guys very much. It's been an interesting day 1 for sure. Stream tomorrow or recap. I'm going to aim for a recap, definitely a stream at some point tomorrow. Probably going to be a little later in the day, like around starting in the afternoon. Today, the day kicked off at 3 p.m. And the stream started at 3 p.m. for the show. So I'm anticipating like afternoons being a bigger time, because regardless, the fish are never, I don't think they're going to be morning people no matter what, right? So the mornings are probably going to be slow regardless. I think all the bulk of the crazy stuff going on is probably going to happen in the afternoons. So my aim will be to try to be here for the afternoons for sure. Mornings a little variable for me, and I think mornings are variable for the fish as well, because even if they're awake, they're not alert. They're not there. You know what I mean? They're slow to wake up. So getting fired is tradition for Fish Tank. Anyone have an idea the active window is supposed to be for the show moving forward? Assuming Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you're assuming a lot of it will take place at night, but that's kind of not what I saw today. And the fish are all asleep by 2 a.m. today. So is that just a day one thing? Is that, there's definitely some stuff that's going to go on at night, but I don't think it's going to go on late into the night because production has to sleep, the fish have to sleep, the vampires have to sleep. Like the stream, thank you so much, appreciate it. And if you subscribe to the channel, yep, it'll show up if you subscribe, and you can keep coming back, and it will notify you when I go live, especially if you hit the bell. It will notify you when I go live, when things start kicking off. Just a suggestion, not a requirement. Thanks to everybody who donated and became members tonight and gifted subs and everything like that. Big shout out to Justin Barnes and Precise and Kyle Monahan and the great Fapsby. Just a few of the great players in the Slive Mind. And big shout out to Thalassophobia and Divis Druid and Ninja for coming in, modding, mod extraordinaires. And big shout out to the fucking chat here in the Slive Mind. I mean, you guys are what makes the whole thing interesting and fun. It would be boring as hell if it wasn't for you guys all being here and congregating in one place, hanging out, having cool conversations, being funny, trying to make each other laugh, all that kind of shit. It's good vibes all around. Appreciate you guys. Let's keep it going.